Hey everybody, welcome back to Winnemac Attack Hockey. I am Don the Bomb, and today we're talking about the one and only New Jersey Devils and what they need to do this offseason to revamp their team and get back in the winning column. I'm joined by Jake the Snake Armstrong and Matt the Brat Cleveland.
All right, if you agree with what we have to say, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. If you disagree with what we have to say, leave a comment, let us know what you do, and then hit that subscribe button down below. Let's get into it.
All right, guys, let's jump in here. The New Jersey Devils had a subpar season, but hey, they're in the middle of a rebuild, getting some young talent, some of that experience that they need. They had a new coach this past season. They have Nico Hischier wearing the C now. Things are changing over there in New Jersey. There's a lot going on, and this year they hold the 4th overall pick in the draft. They have $37 million roughly in cap space before re-signing any of their pending UFAs and RFAs. And they finished 19-30-7 this year, which is not ideal for a National Hockey League team. But hey, everyone has been in that situation, except for Vegas, but they will be there. They'll get there someday. So hey, guys, let's talk about their current roster and Jack Hughes and the young talent that they have there. It looks like that Jack Hughes, that they're set on him, that he is the guy. So let's talk about him. Do you guys think he's the guy? If you're sitting in the general manager's chair right now, are you building around him, or are you still a little hesitant? Jake, let's start with you.
All right, so Jack Hughes, 2019, first overall pick. Their second first overall pick in 3 years after they got Nico Hischier first overall in 2017. Which that, to me, has worked out a lot better so far. Jack Hughes is now 20 years old. He made his debut in the NHL at 19 years old, didn't spend any time in development, just came right in, and it hasn't really worked out yet for the Devils. If you look at Quinn Hughes, when Quinn Hughes was 20 years old, he won the Calder Trophy, and that was his first year in the league, but he had another year of development before jumping into the big leagues. And so maybe Jack Hughes just needed a little bit more time to develop. I think he can still break out. He's going to be a good player. That's non-negotiable. He will be great for the Devils. I think he just needs more time.
Matt, what are your thoughts on Jack Hughes? Do you think he's the guy moving forward?
I think he can be. I think it's really up to their development staff. I think they have to get his face-offs better. This is a dude coming in who was known for his playmaking ability, and he was known really for winning face-offs and getting the puck back in the offensive zone. And he's been atrocious, just outright horrible in the face-off dot. 36% in 2019, and then in 2020 it actually got worse down to 35%. So whatever they're doing to help with his face-offs, it's not working. They need to get him back into the gym. They need to get him stronger so he can win more draws. And their coaches need to learn better ways to help him get more faceoffs. But other than that, he's had steady growth, that's for sure. I mean, he's gotten way better. In less games played than he played in 2019, he has more points, so that's good to see. And it's really up to the coaches, a really young coach there, to get them going and get his development accelerated there.
Okay, so I think I misspoke. When I was talking there, I think I said Quinn Hughes was the Calder Trophy winner. He was actually a runner-up, so my apologies. But Jack Hughes wasn't even in the conversation, so
that's a problem.
He's got to figure something out there.
So do you guys think that this is on him, Matt? I know you said something about the coaches too. Do you guys think this kind of falls on the team's play as well at all, Jake?
The team hasn't been great, but there comes a point when you look at Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes and you say, why isn't the team good? Because you were supposed to be the difference makers and you're not doing it. So I think you can only blame the team so much before you say the team is bad because of this player and this player. And Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier are those players. They have to start putting up the numbers and putting the team on their back.
Matt, do you have similar thoughts?
Yeah, for the most part, but I will also say I think it's a little bit on the GM. I mean, when you look at their roster, who's their best forward or their best winger, I would say? Jonas Johansson, Miles Wood, like they don't have great guys on the wing there that can help him out and can help Nico Hischier out. So it's kind of, I think it comes down to, yes, they definitely need more production from those two players, but at the same point, they really haven't had much to work with out there to pass the puck to. And with two good playmakers, you need better snipers on that forward line. So I think it's really up to the GM to figure this thing out.
We do not tolerate Miles Wood slander on this channel, Matt.
Sorry.
Hey, guys. Hey, speaking of the current roster, this offseason actually is going to be very interesting for them. They have quite a few RFAs and UFAs going on. So, gentlemen, who do you think is staying in the building? Who do you think they bring back? And who do you think they let walk, and why? Matt, let's start with you this time.
I think with a young roster like they have, with all of their forwards being RFAs, I think they bring all of them back. And players like Nick Merkley, and a player like Michael McLoin, and a player like Jamie Buchanan, and Jaeger, I hope I'm not butchering this, Chernengovich, the young guys there on the forward lines, and then guys like Ryan Murray in the back end, and guy like Jonas Siegenthaler, one unrestricted free agent and one a restricted free agent. I think they bring them both back. I think they both had decent seasons. And for dudes, I think walk from the organization, a guy like Aaron Dell, he's been serviceable as a backup goaltender, but I think he hasn't been good enough. Definitely hasn't been good enough compared to a guy like their starting goaltender in Mackenzie Blackwood, who's been pretty good for them. And a guy like Scott Wedgwood, same situation there. I think just the level of play hasn't been good there for their backup goaltending, and I think they need to bring somebody else in.
Jake, what do you think about Matt's picks of who's going, who's staying, and then who do you think? What moves do you think they're going to make?
Okay, so a lot of their RFAs this year, they're not big names. It's sort of like if they walk, it's like, oh no. Anyways.
Yeah.
But there are a few bigger, more important guys I think they should bring back. Nick Merkley is a good prospect, but he is 24 now, so he's almost out of time for those RFA contracts. I think he's looking at 4 years at $2 million, so that'll take him till he's 28. It's cheap, so if he breaks out, they get a few good years out of him at a cheap rate. If he doesn't break out, he's still a good top 9 guy for $2 million. Other than that, I think Ryan Murray played great for the team defensively. He does pretty much nothing offensively. But for a team that was minus 50 last year, he finished with a +3. So he's obviously keeping the puck out of the net when he's on the ice. However, that $4.6 million price tag is steep.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't think that anyone wants to bring him in for that price. He didn't have the kind of year where teams are going to be calling for him. So I think if the Devils wanted to lowball him and bring him back, they could, and I think they should. If he could agree somewhere around $3 million for a couple of years, bring him back. He's a solid defender for them. Just make sure not to overpay him. Other than that, I think Aaron Dell is gone. I don't know why they're bothering with Aaron Dell. He was the backup to Martin Jones at one point, so you know he's not NHL qualified.
Wow.
I think they run with a Mackenzie Blackwood and Corey Schneider tandem, because I think Corey Schneider might not be that MVP elite goaltender that they wanted, but he's a solid backup goalie, and I think with Blackwood, that's a solid combination.
Yeah, I like that. So, hey, there's quite a few guys that, they're bringing back, but like you said, not a lot of big names, but you know where there are a lot of big names sitting right now? In the free agency market, fellas. So, the Devils have a ton of space, and if they're not spending a lot on their own players that they need to bring back, that they got a chunk of change that they can go and flash to these guys who want paid. So, who do you think they're targeting in free agency? Jake, let's come back to you.
Okay, so I think they try to really boost that offense, and where in our past few videos, we mentioned sitting with the prospects you have and building from there. I think the Devils are in a spot where they just need to give supporting pieces to Hischier and Hughes. You've got those 2 first overall picks. It's time to build a team around them. So I think they look at that offensive lineup, and it's embarrassing. Matt, he mentioned it earlier. It's not good. They don't have any talent. So I think you look at all of the snipers on this team, where Hischier and Hughes are both centers, get some really good wingers to go around them. So I'm looking at Brandon Saad, Jaden Schwartz, Mike Hoffman, and then for third line center, a cheap option, Blake Coleman, who might be getting a raise here if the Lightning can pull this off and win the Cup. So that would be a good maybe third line center option for them. In addition to that, pieces they could bring back. You have to look at Travis Zajac and Kyle Palmieri, who were traded as a tandem to the New York Islanders, who apparently just love taking captains from the Devils, as they also took their captain Andy Green last year. This year they took the two A's. I think if you look at the two of them, Kyle Palmieri was a little cheaper this year, making $4.6 million. Travis Zajac made 5.7, so almost $1 million more expensive. I think you go with the cheaper option in Palmieri if he was going to take a similar contract. You bring him back for your right wing. And then Zajac, they have that 37 mil, but with all the guys I mentioned, you're going to be cutting that down. So I think they do have to choose between Zajac and Palmieri and ultimately choose the cheaper option. In addition to those forwards, Adam Larson on the back end. He's been there before. I've never heard him complain about New Jersey. I think bringing in a guy like him could really solidify that defense among the other names there. You're stuck with PK Subban, unfortunately. But also Ryan Murray, I said to bring him back. Damon Severson is decent. And then Will Butcher could also work in there. I think they've got some good guys there on the back end if they could just add some more a solid guy like Adam Larson.
Nice, Jake. You had a lot of really great options there, and imagine if they go out and sign 2 or 3 of these guys, and the rest of the teams in the league are like, "Oh, great, who are we going to sign as a winger?" But Matt, who do you think that they're going to bring in? I know you mentioned offense being an issue, but who do you think they're going to target in free agency?
I think they go for some big swings. I think they bring in dudes who can really help out their team right away, in a team that can really players that can really accelerate them. I have players who, if they don't get the big swings, they're kind of fallback options, but these are some of the big swings I have them taking. I have them going after Gabriel Landeskog. Ooh. Yes, the captain of the Colorado Avalanche. Hating free agency this season. He wants to get paid. He's had some pretty good seasons in the past. And especially after what happened with the Colorado coming up short again this year, maybe he does decide to jump ship. And if you're giving him a lot of money, maybe they can entice him to come. And that'd be a nice guy to have next to Nico Hischier there on that first line. Another dude, I'm also going to Colorado Avalanche, kind of scooping them both up there. Philip Gruber in net. A dude who I think with the solid tandem of Philip Gruber, who had a monster season this year, a guy who had under 2 goals allowed per game and over a .920 save percentage. He really broke out this year and is a Vezina finalist, so it's going to be great to see. He's going to get paid. There's no doubt about that. He's going to get paid. And I think you bring him in next to a guy like Mackenzie Blackwood, that's a 1-2 combo that could really make some noise there in the Metro. And then another guy on the back end they could bring in, a guy from Vegas, and Alec Martinez, a guy who was really good with LA and who's been pretty good with Vegas as well. I think he's a guy who maybe not the biggest of swings. It shouldn't take too much to get him, especially with his age 33. But I'd say probably the 5-6 mil range at least. And that's a guy who could really fill out their back end right away. Now here's some dudes who, if they miss out on those guys, don't sweat it. They still have plenty of cash. They can go after other guys. A guy like Peter Morazek, dude who kind of shuffled his way out there in Carolina. He's going to be a free agent this year. I think he's a dude that they could definitely bring in, and he could play really well in the back end, or in the net there. And Linus Ullmark, same situation. And Yaroslav Halak from Boston as well. Another good dude who can tandem well there with Mackenzie Blackwood. And then I have dudes like on the back end, and Brandon Montour from Florida, a guy who was decent in Buffalo, not that great, but when he came over to Florida, I think he played really well for them on the back end there, and they should be able to bring him in. And Michael Del Zotto, who actually has surprisingly a pretty good season there for Columbus. I think he's a guy they could get for relatively cheap with his age. So those are some guys I have them bringing in to really boost to this roster.
Yeah, I was actually a little surprised when you mentioned the goaltending options that they could go and get and really stack up on that 1-2 punch. We've seen some teams do it. Vegas notably is one that made a deep playoff run. Jake, what are your thoughts? Do you think that the Devils here are going to go after another goalie to help Mackenzie Blackwood maybe share some time?
Well, I think me and Matt are on the same page here. Don't let that $37 million sit in the bank account. Spend it, use it, make your team better.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
However, I believe in Mackenzie Blackwood. I know there's people like Matt who don't think the Blackwood Schneider tandem would do well, but I think it's okay. Somebody who I do think was a great choice by Matt, Brandon Montour. I didn't even think about, but he is a solid guy on the back end. Like let me just scribble out Adam Larson in my notes. Pay Brandon Montour because that's a much better option. And then on offense, he said Gabriel Landeskog, which I thought was kind of funny because he said he's tired of watching the Avalanche not get it done. So that means Landeskog, he goes to the front office and he's like, listen, I'm done here. I'm going to New Jersey where they really know how to get it done in the playoffs. No, but I get what you mean. Sometimes, the bag shines brighter than postseason success, and the Devils can give him the money. McKinnon is flexing because he took a pay cut. Well, Gabriel Landeskog doesn't care about your pay cut or your postseason failures. He's going to the Devils where they're going to give him a hefty payday, and he's going to be a leader on that team. I like it. I went with more depth options in scoring, but I think we're on the same page. They need to help that offense.
Hey, lose a captain, gain a captain. You lose both A's and your captain in 2 years for the Devils. You got Hischier, named your C. Go out there and get some more leadership to help him out, That's awesome. Landeskog to the New Jersey Devils. We called it right here.
Landeskog at one point was the youngest captain in the league, so him and Hischier, he could really show Hischier how to lead a team, honestly, because he did that from a young age himself. Now Hischier is young, leading the team.
Yeah. You know what a crazy thing would be now that he to jump in here is if he were to sign with them at 28 years old, he'd be the oldest forward on the roster.
Really?
Just let that sink in. That's how young that roster is right now. So a guy like that could really give them some veteran leadership.
Interesting.
So in a couple of years, you're going to have to put him in a nursing home with PK Subban?
Yes, at 30 years old, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, man. Hey, those are some crazy signings and very realistic, too, I think. They have the money. Go spend it. Make your team better. Help these young guys develop, Hey, but there are more ways to get it done. They could utilize the trading market. Do you guys have any circumstances that you think that New Jersey might make a trade? Matt?
Not really. I mean, this team's a really young team. I mean, if somebody's willing to go after some of their more expensive contracts, say like a guy like PK Subban, I mean they could, but I really think with a team like this and kind of have the roster set, it's almost just about adding instead of subtracting at this point. It's about letting them grow.
Yeah, especially after the trade with Palmieri, to the Islanders and that package deal that they had going on there. Jake, what do you think? Or do you have any trades that they might make?
I agree with Matt. A lot of it is make some free agent acquisitions. There's not a whole lot of assets on that team to move around. So just kind of let things sit. But there is one guy who I think that they should get rid of at all costs, and that's Jonas Siegenthaler. You're going to have trouble finding a trade partner. Maybe some bad team like Detroit gives him a chance. But I watched that guy when he was with the Capitals, and he does not know how to play hockey. Sorry, Jonas, if you're watching this, but I don't like you. I had to watch the Capitals give up so many goals, and it was entirely your fault.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, New Jersey Devils, do yourselves a favor and get rid of Jonas Siegenthaler. He is the reason you missed the playoffs this year. Him alone.
Just remember Washington, D.C. I was not a part of this.
Neither was I. Hey, another guy I want to talk about briefly real quick. Matt, I believe you mentioned him, or Jake, I forget. But anyways, PK Subban. This guy has had a pretty successful hockey career, especially with Nashville. He played pretty well. He's come to the Devils. He's kind of performed subpar. Do you think he's got 1 year left on his contract at $9 million? Do you think at the trade line, maybe this upcoming season, they get rid of him? Do you think they leave him unprotected and Seattle potentially could pick him up? Or do you think that maybe here shortly he might retire a little young and take the sports media network by storm and take that as his new career? Do you guys have any thoughts on that, Matt?
I mean, if you're going to bring him in, you're probably going to bring him in more for his personality than his actual NHL prowess. Let's just be honest here. He's kind of a guy that he's going to be a huge seller of jerseys because a lot of people like him. Probably not because of his play, more of his personality, but still, a lot of people like him. And he's a dude who's gonna be a great ambassador for your team. So if you want that on your roster, I mean, $9 million is a lot of money. You got to remember that. So if you want to bring him in on a 1-year contract like that, you can. I mean, there's no stopping anyone, but it's a risk, that's for sure.
Yeah, I just want to point out, I've only been to one hockey game in the NHL. Now, I watched the Chicago Blackhawks host the New Jersey Devils, which I am actually renting a New Jersey Devils jersey right now, so you're welcome, New Jersey. And I watched PK Subban slap one home on the power play, so I have seen this man's potential with my own eyes, all right? So I don't think he's completely washed up yet. I'm just throwing that out there. Jake, what do you think?
I think PK Subban definitely goes unprotected, so Seattle will have the option to take him. But I don't think that off ice, like personality, the name value there, I don't think that's enough for Seattle. I think it would be a decent option, but the lower hanging fruit that I think will be available is Jesper Bratt. He was brought in from some foreign league, played really well for the Devils. I think it was last year. Fantastic player. And then this year, sort of an off year. The whole team was just kind of off. And the Devils already want to get rid of him. I think they'll leave him unprotected, especially since I said they're going to sign all these other free agents. I don't think Jesper Bratt gets protected from Seattle, and Seattle is going to see that as more value than PK Subban.
Interesting. All right. Well, hey, moving on from the PK Subban subject, there's one thing we haven't talked about yet that a lot of people might be wondering is, what is New Jersey going to do with the 4th overall pick? We've heard rumors, there's speculations. There's another Hughes brother that is in the draft this year. Do you think New Jersey is taking him? Do you think Jack Hughes is over there like, yes, bring my brother in, let's make this happen? Jake, thoughts?
Definitely Jack Hughes and Luke Hughes are already splitting rent on an apartment in New Jersey. That's not confirmed, pure speculation, but I'm sure they've got it in the works. Luke Hughes is as good as a devil.
Matt, what do you think? Are they bringing him in?
I think so, and that just makes me feel bad for their brother and Quinn Hughes over there in Vancouver. Have to be all the way over there on the West Coast by himself. But yeah, that'd be a huge addition for their back end, and a very young player like that who's been really good in his development here, and I think it'd be a perfect move for them. Yeah, definitely make Jack happy.
Hey, there's probably some chemistry things in the locker room there with that pick that you just maybe things really escalate there. And, at that point, if they do draft his brother, then if there was any doubt that they did not think Jack Hughes was the guy, I mean, that's just completely washed out, right?
Yeah.
Even better, Luke Hughes, good defender, perfect replacement for Jonas Siegenthaler. I'm just saying.
All right. Hey, so plenty of moves the Devils can make this offseason. Their team can really totally be revamped. It'll be interesting to see what they do. So let's talk about, guys, it's really early, I know, but who do you think next season is going to be that MVP for the Devils? Jake.
Jack Hughes. I told you it took Quinn Hughes. He had a couple more years of development, and then he was up there for the Calder Trophy. I think Jack Hughes, now that he's had a little more time to develop, he is ready to break out and take the league by storm. And that's going to be great for the Devils. I think he'll be fun to watch.
Matt, how about you?
I think Jack Hughes is a decent option. I don't think until he starts winning faceoffs he's going to be their top player. I think for sure that's going to be a guy in Nico Hischier. He was injured this year, so we didn't get to see much of him. And I think we kind of missed that with their roster. I think he's been a really good player for them when he was first brought up. And I think he's going to show that again coming into the 2021 season. I think he's going to be their top forward, and I think he's going to get a lot of ice time there on that first line.
Interesting. Hey, guys, personally, in my opinion, I think Mackenzie Blackwood is going to come out and show all the doubters that are left that he is the guy, even if they bring in someone else that you were talking about, Matt. I think Mackenzie Blackwood is like, look, I'm out here. I'm going to prove who I am, who I'm worth, and I think he's going to have an outstanding season next year. I don't know if he'll be up for the Vezina next year, but he'll definitely be in the conversation at one point next season. I'm making that bold prediction right now. So on that note, Where do you think they're going to finish next year over there in the Metro, Matt?
I still think they have some development. I think they finish 7th. I'm going to say they're not going to finish last. I saved that spot for a team there in Ohio. But they are definitely in a development stage. Definitely a team that could probably give a couple teams a fight every now and then, a scrap near the end of the season with a young roster like that. But I think they're just not there yet. Even bringing in a guys like I was talking about probably still only boost them maybe 1 or 2 spots. So as of right now, I think they're a 7th place team.
Interesting. Jake, how about you?
Well, I have to agree with Matt. There is also a team from Ohio that will be finishing last on my list. But I think the Devils are going to be a bit better. I had them sign a lot of depth. I still don't think they quite make the playoffs because right now that division is still really good with the Capitals, the Penguins. The Rangers just signed a new coach, Gerard Gallant. And then the Islanders have Barry Trotz, who can do anything. But 5th place, New Jersey Devils, right there, I think they're on the cusp of it. Their prospects need to keep developing, and in a couple of years, they're playoff bound. But this year, 5th place.
Nice, guys. Very interesting. Jake, you have him 5th. Matt 7th. Matt, I'm going to have to agree with you. I think they're going to finish towards the bottom, but I don't think it's going to go in shame. I think they're going to see a lot of good things next season. They're going to make some improvements. And like you said, Jake, they're going to be back in the playoffs here in a couple of years. So everyone, New Jersey fans, be patient. Just a couple more years, and we think you're going to get there. You're definitely close. So, guys, hey, we've talked a lot about the Devils and what they've been able to do, where we think they're going to end up in the future. Is there anything else that we have missed that you think that we need to talk about? All right, hey, that'll do. Hey, thanks, guys, for joining us as we broke down the New Jersey Devils. Join us next time, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We'll see you next time on Winnemac Attack Hockey.